Special Commission meeting of Town of Pembroke Park, Monday, September 23rd, 2019, at 6 o'clock p.m. 16.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cohen, she's absent. She's here somewhere, but she's not in the room. Commissioner DeVille?
Here.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs?
Yep, here.
Vice Mayor Clark?
Here.
Mayor Mohammed?
Here. Number one, public hearing Monday, September 23rd, 2019, at 6 o'clock p.m. Final budget and millage rate for fiscal year 2019-2020. Mayor Mohammed and Attorney Ryan. Harry, would you like to present the budget?
Sure. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commission. Harry Taubenfeld, Budget and Finance. What you have in front of you is the final budget for your approval. So I guess the first couple of pages listed are summary formats and table of contents of all the different pages that make up the financials for the budget. We can go ahead if everybody wants to start. I don't know if anybody had a chance yet to read.
Can I stop you for a moment?
Sure.
Commissioner Cohen is here. I was upstairs. Nobody told me, but I'm here now. That's it.
Okay.
You were upstairs. Why would you start the meeting? Okay.
Included in the budget, which included in this budget that you see in front of you, that was not included the last time, is a memorandum written by Town Manager Salters, giving everybody a brief synopsis of the actual budget. Continue going through it. You'll see page that's listed in Roman numeral 4, gives you a budget summary, summarizing the top part of the page, giving you the estimated revenues by fund, general fund, and then the enterprise fund. Enterprise fund incorporates both the sewer and stormwater fund. And on the bottom of the page, you have the expenditures, excuse me, for all the respective departments as well in summary format. In reviewing the revenue, total sources of the revenue for both the general fund and enterprise fund, you're looking at a total dollar amount of $17,873,000 and change, with total expenditures being $18,969,622. The shortfall of $1,095,000, we're proposing that money come from the reserves, from the respective funds. One thing to note, in the enterprise fund, the $274,000 shortfall is from the stormwater fund. Sewer fund is actually balanced. It's the stormwater fund that's a shortfall, and we'll get into that as we go through the budget. Yes, Madam Mayor.
Have the money in the reserve to pull.
Yes, we do. In the sewer fund, in the sewer and stormwater fund, yes, we do. The general fund, there is reserve.
I know it wasn't a healthy reserve in the general fund. I know the stormwater and sewer has a healthy reserve, however.
That is correct. I am anticipating a surplus for this current year as it relates to the general fund. So there should be some monies. Still hard to tell. I don't want to go on record yet with how much it is, but I would say it's a decent amount. Will it cover the full $820,000? No, but I would say, if I had to guess, probably at least 50 to 60% of it.
That's the 600 you're talking about before that hasn't come in.
No, the revenue. That's but we were talking before. That's a revenue that's to revenue that hasn't been actually recorded for yet.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm guesstimating when factoring in revenue and the expenses, will still have roughly about $500,000 surplus in the general fund.
And might I add something?
Sure.
We have to have a balanced budget. So we are anticipating we will start building the general fund back up, which we always call our rainy day fund. But in order to have a balanced budget, you cannot approve an unbalanced budget. We had to remove from reserve, and they will be transferred back at the end of the year when we do carry forwards and everything.
That's what I was concerned about, because I know that last year we kind of had the discussion that we had about 2 months reserve, 2 months of basic pay in reserve. So I was kind of a little concerned with the amount being so high. Scary thought.
And if you look at my, the budget message, it will let you know where those expenditures came from. And next year, they should be reduced and come down. And like I said, after we true up salaries and everything else, we should have a decent amount to transfer to reserve.
Okay. Go ahead, Harry.
Okay. Going forward, now if we go to page number 1 in the budget, gives you a little bit more detailed information on the expense side, total revenue. This is for the the general fund.
We can
Total
share.
line, you have
Hang on.
at the top of the page gives you the revenues by source, revenue source, starting with ad valorem taxes all the way down to other revenue. And then below it, you have the expenses by department as it relates to the general fund, starting with the mayor and commission department all the way down to capital outlays and capital projects. One thing to note here is the law enforcement and fire rescue dollar amount. If you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that total number forecasted for the upcoming fiscal year is $6,532,000, which represents 52% of the total expenditures. As it relates, just comparative, looking at last year's numbers, that number was a little over $5.9 million. So we're looking at roughly, $600,000 increase year over year for the fire rescue and police. And to answer your question, Mayor, that's where a majority of the shortfall is coming from, would be from the police and fire rescue contracts. Moving along, there's some graphs just giving you detailing, all your revenue sources and what your expenditures are for the general fund. If we go now to that's page 2 and page 3. Page 4 gives you a summary format of your enterprise fund, which is your sewer and stormwater fund. Again, broken out by revenue. Top part being your sewer fund, but the second part of the page being your stormwater fund. Again, in summary format, just breaking out by department where your expenses are coming from, right where your revenue and your expenses are coming from. As I mentioned previously, sewer fund is in balance. It's your stormwater fund, the shortfall of stormwater fund, and as we'll get into that later on, but just to let you know, it has to deal with some major projects that we have in store for the upcoming fiscal year. Pages 5 and 6 are just other graphs to show you where the percentages of the breakdown of where your revenue sources and your expenditures are coming from for the sewer fund and stormwater fund. Page 7 gives you a summary format of your enterprise fund by revenue and expenditures. Now if you go to page 9 now gives you a little bit more detailed information as it relates to the revenue. All the information that we're going through now is the detail that comprises the summary pages that we just spoke about. So starting with pages 9, 10, and 11, these are your revenue sources for the general fund, starting with the ad valorem taxes. Wherever you see bold items, that's a total line item for the source of revenue. So you have total ad valorem for the upcoming fiscal year budgeted at $6,014,000. Local option taxes, 119, and as you go down, you'll see all the bolded items giving you the summary amount as it relates to the revenue sources. As I mentioned in the previous meeting, one thing that we're doing differently this year, as what's been done in previous years, is we're trying to forecast out the 3 future years in addition to the current fiscal year, to give everybody a general idea as to, give some foresight to see where everybody's give everybody a general idea as to, where the revenue and expenses are coming from and what capital projects we might have upcoming in the future years. So just give a general idea as to the direction of where the town is going. Are there any questions as it relates to the revenue for the general fund? If not, we can move on and start talking.
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
We were talking at pages 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so that was the different revenue sources for the general fund. Any questions? No? Okay, so then we'll go to page number 12. Page number 12 are the departmental expenses for the mayor and the commission. As we go through this, you'll see that most of these departments are broken up into 3 different expense categories. You have your personnel services, your payroll expenditures, and your operating expenditures. Payroll services are the salaries paid out to yourself and as you go to different departments, the employees of the town. The detail is in the back of the document, so as we get to it, we'll get some more information as to the makeup of these dollar amounts. Payroll expenditures include payroll taxes and all the benefits that the town offers to the various benefits that the town offers to its employees, starting with the health insurance all the way down to the life insurance. When you get to the operating expenditures, this is where you'll see some variation between the departments. What it relates, it really just relates to the different operating expenses as it associates to, again, each respective department. One thing to note in looking at this page, there was one modification that was made to one line item, election services. The initial number was $25,000. We reduced that number to $15,000. And we transferred those funds to the administrative department. And just so everybody know, it's under recommendation of Town Manager Muse Salters. She wants to start incorporating an employee tuition assistance program. And I guess we'll get into that when we get to the next department. But I just wanted to let everybody know that the dollar amount was reduced from $25,000 to $15,000. Just one other side note, any adjustments that were made, there was no adjustments to the total dollars as far as being expense for the town. What we did is we just reallocated some of the expenses so that we stay in line with what was originally proposed to the commission 2 weeks ago. Any questions as it relates to the mayor and commission department?
You need to speak up in the mic, sir.
That 10,000 come from
The 10,000 came from election services. We originally budgeted $25,000 for election services, and we reduced that number to 15,000. What you see is as you go through the document also is we incorporated some graphs for everybody to, we want to be consistent as to what was proposed and sent to you guys last year as well. So in essence, what you see behind each departmental expense is a graph showing you historically the expenses by department going with fiscal year 2017 and what we're proposing for fiscal 2020. Any questions? No? Okay, so the next page we'll go to is page 14. Page 14 is the administrative department. Again, broken up into three parts. You have the personnel services, payroll expenditures, and operating expenditures. One thing to note here, in addition to the $10,000 that was added for the employee tuition assistance program, we added a new line item in the operating expenditures. If you look down, it's the third line item. It's listed as HR management services. That total amount is $81,000. That's a proposed dollar amount that's probably going to be needed to bring in the HR consulting firm that the commission has been discussing. The last few months. We had our initial meeting, and I believe Clerk Commissioner Jacobs, I don't know if it's going to be the next special meeting or the meeting after that, is going to talk about our recommendation. But based on that, we're guesstimating that the expense to bring them in for the first year would be approximately $81,000. Again, that money was taken from other expenses to cover this dollar amount, so there was no increase in having to pull money from the reserves.
I believe we took it from 3 different salaries that are not, they're vacant. And by the time the next budget start, we'll be able to true them up, depending on after we get her report as to what we will have to do, but we'll be heading into the next budget. So it shouldn't be, it's not an impact on the overall budget.
Correct. Any questions as it relates to the admin department? Nope. Okay, so then we'll go next to page number 16. Excuse me. Page 16, again, just broken up into 3 different departments. We have our payroll services, payroll expenditures, and operating expenditures. No modifications or changes made from the previous meeting. So if there are no questions, I guess we can move to page 18. Any questions? No? Okay. Go to page number 18. Page 18 is estimated expenses that we have for the legal department. Included in that are 2 major line items. One is the contractual services legal retainer. That's the dollar amount that we have contracted with Town Attorney Ryan. And the second line item there that we have are the contractual services legal non-retainer, estimating that number to be $100,000. Included in that number are some additional services that are not included in the retainer from Attorney Ryan, as well as other firms. One of them being Sachs Kaplan, who's going to be heading up our lawsuit with BSO. So we are guesstimating a dollar amount for that particular line item. As we move along, I guess we'll have a better idea as to what that dollar amount would be, but the number that is assumed right now for the BSO retainer with Sachs Kaplan is $45,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Next page. Next, we'll go to page number 20. Page 20 is comprehensive planning. Included in one major line item expense that we have here are the contractual services planning that consists of two vendors, one of them being Mike Miller, the other one being DC Strategies. And again, we're guesstimating included with Mike Miller is two separate line items. There's a $3,500 monthly retainer fee, and then on top of that, he charges us for his services. Those services vary from month to month, but we're guesstimating that number to be somewhere around $10,000 to $12,000 a month on top of the $3,500 a month retainer that he charges us. The dollar amount allocated for DC Strategies is $56,000, and that's how you come up with the $200,000 number for the contractual services planning.
Why is that DC Strategies under planning?
It's just how it's been. Quite honestly, it's where it's been going for the last couple of years. So I did not want to make any modifications or changes. It passed the test last year with the audit, so I just didn't make any. 17 audit, so I just not make any changes to it.
Where are the lobbyists in?
Lobbyists are non-departmental. That'd be the next line item on the lobbying expense.
Move it over into the proper column.
I can. Again, I just didn't want to make any. I didn't want to make any changes to what's been done historically. I guess if it's not broken, it might fix. Let's not fix it. But if
Okay. Okay.
So that's comprehensive planning. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Next page we'll go to is page 22.
Let me get an understanding. You were saying move it where it appropriately needs to be? Yeah, all the rest of them were there. It's just something that bypassed me, because I would have had it moved, but, because I thought it was under non-departmental when I got a breakout. You can go ahead on.
No problem. I'm just making a note myself. Just give me 1 second. Okay, page 22, what you have here are the non-departmental expenses. These are just various expenses that the town has that doesn't necessarily affect any individual department. Largest expense obviously being the lobbying expense. If anybody needs, which carries the annual expense to carry all of our lobbyists for the upcoming fiscal year. Questions?
What's in the miscellaneous charges?
I'm sorry. I have that here. Looking at the wrong page. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I'm sorry. Under the miscellaneous expenses, you have a few different line items. You have Comcast, which is the internet service for the town, roughly $8,000. Waste management, Broward County Waste, and some miscellaneous stuff. Breakdown is Comcast is 8,000, Waste Management was roughly 13,000, Broward County Waste is 16,000, Waste Management Recycling is 2,500, and then we had some miscellaneous line items totaling 7,200. So adding that up gets you roughly to that $48,000 number.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, next thing we'll do is go to page number 24. Page 24 is, the first line item that you see there is the contracted amount with BSO. Just as a point of note, reference, let everybody know, which I'm sure everybody's aware of, but just point out, just looking at the year-to-date numbers, looking at the annualized number for the contract, actual contract from last year, budget amount was $3,019,000, and this coming fiscal year, we're looking at $3,272,000. Included in this as well, IT mentioned to me that we potentially might want to upgrade the security for the town hall. So that's where that $40,000 number comes from. So in total, we're looking at a total expense number for law enforcement at $3,327,000. Any questions? Nope. Okay, if we go to page 26. Page 26 just gives you the contracted amount for the fire rescue. Again, just pointing out, total dollar amount for the upcoming fiscal year is $3,205,000 compared to a budget amount of $3,021,000. So we're looking at almost a $200,000 increase year over year for fire rescue. There are no questions.
Wait,
Go ahead. Sorry.
okay, never mind. I'm seeing the 27, and then I'm like, wait, that's a $500,000, and then $500,000 last year. That's what I was like, but I didn't realize you weren't including the last 2 months.
You're right. What you see here actually is the year-to-date numbers through August.
Yeah.
Right, so you're missing September.
Yeah.
Missing 1 month. Right.
That's why I was like, that's another $1 million they want? What are we getting for an extra $1 million? Okay, I'm sorry. You know, I
problem.
was having a mini heart attack up here.
Next, we go to pages 28 and 29. 28 and 29 give you the breakdown of the building department. Again, broken out by personal services, payroll expenditures, and operating expenses. Payroll services are the employees that work for the town. Currently, the budget does assume that we will be hiring a new chief building official. The position is currently vacant at the moment, but the plan is to hire somebody full-time. Then you have the payroll expenditures, again, which are the benefits provided by the town, and then the different operating expenditures. In building this budget, the plan is, at least the thought process was, that the building official coming on board will have structural experience, and that individual will be handling a lot, if not all, of the structural inspections. So when you look at the line item, you see that there's zero budgeted for that particular line item.
Good.
Any questions? Nope. Okay, we can then move to page 31. Page 31 talks about the code department, again, broken out, 31 and 32. Get broken out to the three different expense categories: services, expenditures, and operating expenses. And no changes made from the previous meeting, so if nobody has any questions, I guess we can move forward to roads and streets. Okay, page 34. Roads and streets, again, broken out to three different departments. Three expense categories broken out to three different categories. Expenditures broken out to three different categories, my apologies. No changes made from the previous report that was provided to you guys 2 weeks ago. So if there are no questions, we can move over to Parks and Recs. Parks and Recs, again, no changes made there from the previous, I'm sorry, take it back. Parks and Recs, we did make some modifications to the Parks and Recs department. Vice Mayor Clark had requested that we add some additional services to the citizens. So per his request, we did add the Focal Point Walkathon, adding $1,000 to that, and the One Blood, $250 towards that. And we did also add the Winter Festival. No dollar amounts allocated to that specific line item, with the thought process being, well, whatever money is allocated would be, for the total amount allocated would be used to cover that cost. So the total incremental increase, the total amount increase from the previous budget that was presented to you to this one is $1,250. Any questions? Okay,
I got a question.
sure.
Okay, we're looking at the 60th anniversary celebration.
Yes, sir.
Why is it being forecast out year after year after year when it's?
It's just the line item that we're keeping there, just,
Coming up Pembroke Park Days.
Okay.
Haven't changed the name.
All right.
Andrews Day, something to that effect. Man, this
all
thing
right. Next, we'll go to page number 40. Capital outlays and equipment. No modifications or changes made, was previously presented to the commission. So if there are no questions, I guess we can move on to the next department. Any questions? No? Okay. Next thing, we'll go to page 42, capital projects. Again, no changes made to our process here. Two major projects that we have planned for the upcoming fiscal year, both, one of them being completely covered by the CDBG grants. The second one, about 65% of it's being covered based on the estimated amount of $105,000. Speaking with Mr. Larson, he feels that this is a very conservative number. More likely, it will probably, the total amount expense allocated for this endeavor will probably fall more in line with the amount of monies provided to us by CDBG, which is roughly $61,000, I think it is.
Yes.
But at the moment, we're forecasting what we know, which is the conservative amount of $105,000. So if there are no questions with that, that would conclude the general fund. If there are no questions, next we can then move forward and discuss the sewer fund, which is on page 44. Page 44 breaks out for you the revenue sources for the sewer fund. Again, broken out two different parts, operating revenue and non-operating. Total revenue, estimated revenue for the upcoming fiscal year is $2,962,000 and some change. Any questions? Oh, okay. Next, if we go to page 46 and 47, 46 and 47 breaks out the different expenditures associated with the sewer fund. This is actually broken out into 5 different categories. 3 previous ones are the same, personnel services, payroll expenditures, and operating expenses. In addition to that, we have some capital projects and debt service payments associated with the USDA loan. So if you go to page 47, 47 what breaks out, gives you the different capital projects that we're forecasting and the debt payments associated with the USDA loan. As I mentioned previously, the sewer fund is in balance, is projected to be in balance for the upcoming fiscal year. Any questions? Oh, okay, so then we'll go to page 49. 49 are your revenue sources for the stormwater fund. As previously mentioned, there is a slight shortfall of revenue to cover the total expenditures. So you'll see that line item where it says use of fund balance reserves of $274,846. That's the dollar amount potentially needed to cover the shortfall. Shortfall coming really from the 2 major projects, as you see above that, the John P. Lyons Phase 2 engineering project and the Southwest 25th Stormwater Improvement Project. What you see here are the actual revenue sources. So we're looking at total revenue sources of about $1.6 million. If you go to page number 51, I'm sorry, page 52, 52 will detail for you the total expenses allocated towards that those 2 projects. So we're looking at a total estimate of a little over $2.1 million, so about a $500,000 differential. Hence the roughly $275,000 shortfall to cover the fund balance. But the fund is operationally, the fund is actually strong and profitable. With no further questions, that would cover the stormwater fund. Okay, great. Next thing we have is page 54, 55, and 56. Pages 54, 55, and 56 give you the breakdown by department, your salaries by department. These numbers here all correspond and relate to your top line where it said payroll services for each individual department. So, for example, starting with the mayor and commission, I think that we saw a page, when we were looking at the expenses, we saw a line item of $210,000. What you see here, the proposed FY 2020 column is where the numbers are coming from. And then that's we see there is, again, broken out by department. To just further clarify what Town Manager Salter was mentioned to everybody previously regarding the monies that were allocated for the HR consulting firm, what we did was the funds came from the 3 vacant positions that we currently have in the admin department. So the thought process is to, as Ms. Salters mentioned, is to get the study, review it, and then make whatever necessary adjustments we need to make towards the latter part of the year. So most, if not all, the funds came from that respective department. Actually, all the funds came from that department. My apologies.
Right. 'Cause administrative expense.
So yeah, like I mentioned before, pages 455 and 56 give you a breakdown of all the employees' salaries, and anything that's in bold lists all the current vacant positions that the vacant or abolished because they're from previous years, but the vacant positions are also listed in bold. So those are the current positions that are still open, currently open. When you get to pages 57 and 58, 57 and 58 just gives you a detailed breakdown of all the payroll expenditures, the benefits that the town provides for all the employees, in addition to the FICA tax that the town incurs. But you see all the different departments, all the different classifications as relates to what the town offers the employees. You have the FRS, contribution, health insurance, life insurance, dental, vision, disability, short-term, long-term, and as well as the life insurance policies. Again, that's broken out by department and by individual. And that's what you see on pages 57 and 58. And then 59 all the way through page 67 are just different graphs as it relates to the respective departments as it relates to the salary and benefits. So just give you a historical outlook year from 2017 to what we're forecasting for 2020. And that's it. What you see in front of you is the 2020 proposed budget. If there are any other questions that you guys might have, I'm here to answer them for you.
You did a great job. I don't think
Great
anyone
job,
has any questions.
Madam Manager and Finance Budget Director.
And Mr. Doctor is assistant.
And
as
Doctor,
well.
yes. I don't have a nickname for him yet. Oh, Assistant Manager. I'll get it. I'll get it right.
And I like to say to the staff, we got them into what we're gonna do is they will present the department heads, the budgets to us, and then we will, make decisions to bring to you. And then we'll keep a practice of going over the budget as we develop it with you one-on-one, so that any questions you have, we'll be able to answer them and get to the meetings and have a same like common mind.
You did a great job, Harriet. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and Harry, right?
All right. I guess
So-
that concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Harry.
So, number 1, the announcement of the proposed millage rate of 8.5 mils. The percentage increase of 5.48% and millage rate above the rollback rate is necessary to fund the budget. And we'll open the public hearing. And we'll close the public hearing.
Wait a minute, I have a complaint.
Go ahead, Madam.
Is there any discussion, commission discussion? Do you guys have any questions? Chris, we'll go ahead and adopt the millage rate.
Okay. Series of resolutions, as you're all familiar with, that adopt these different, first the millage rate, which is required to be adopted first, and then the general budget, and then the other budgets as discussed by Mr. Tavenport. It's a resolution of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, relating to taxation and financing, fixing the amount and rate of taxation for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, providing for delivery of certified copies, providing for severability, superseding conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date. Whereas the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, in conformity with Chapter 59-1722, Laws of Florida 1959, as amended, It has conferred the power to raise money by taxation for the payment of expenses of the municipality incurred in the exercise of its powers. And whereas the Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida has held such public hearings as required by law relating to the adoption of the budget for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and the certification of the millage required for ad valorem taxation in connection therewith. And whereas the property appraiser of Broward County, Florida, has requested that the Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park provide him a certified copy of the resolution fixing the amount and rate of taxation for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 by October 1, 2019, in order that same may be certified to the Division of Revenue Collection of Broward County, Florida, and for the purpose of mailing tax notices to the taxpayers of Broward County, Florida. And whereas the millage rate proposed herein is the rollback determined in accordance with the provisions of Section 200.0651 Florida statutes, is the rollback rate computed as aforesaid is 8.0584, and the millage rate is 8.50, which is 5.8% more than the rollback rate. And whereas the Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park has, pursuant to all applicable Florida statutes, caused to be published the notices as required herein, and conducted the public hearing as required under said statutes, and has otherwise complied with the provisions of the state Florida statutes with respect to the manner and method of fixing millage. Now therefore be resolved by the Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, Section 1, that there be and there is hereby levied upon all taxable property in the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, both real and personal, in conformity with the Constitution of the State of Florida and Florida statutes declaratory thereto, a tax of 8.50 mils on each dollar of assessed valuation for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020, for the benefit of the general fund of the Town of Pembroke Park and payment of the budget adopted for the general fund for said fiscal year, which millage rate is 5.48% higher than the rollback rate computed aforesaid as 8.054. Section 2, that certified copies of this resolution be delivered to the Board of County Commissioners of Broward County, Florida, property appraiser of Broward County, Florida, and the Florida Department of Revenue, Department of Revenue of the State of Florida, as soon as possible. Section 3, that if any clause, section, or other part or application of this resolution, until by any court of competent jurisdiction be unconstitutional or invalid in part or an application, it shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions or applications of this resolution. Section 4, that all resolutions or parts of resolutions of conflict herewith being the same are hereby superseded to the extent such conflict. Section 5, this resolution shall be enforced and take effect immediately upon its passage.
Discussion? No, roll call.
Vice Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs? Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Commissioner DeVille?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes. Number 6, adoption of the general fund.
Okay. Next is Resolution 190909. It's a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, officially adopting and approving the annual budget for the general fund for the Town of Pembroke Park for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and appropriating funds for the operation of the general fund for the Town of Pembroke Park for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, providing for severability, proceeding with the resolution effective date. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, Section 1, that the budget for the Town of Pembroke Park for the operation of the general fund for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020 is officially finally adopted, a photocopy of which is on file with the town clerk and by reference made a part hereof, and appropriations set forth there are made for the maintenance and carrying on the general fund of the Town of Pembroke Park for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020. Section 2, if any clause, section, or other part or application of this resolution is held by any court of competent jurisdiction unconstitutional or invalid in part or an application shall not reflect the validity of the remaining portions or applications of this resolution. Section 2, you see in Section 3 that all resolutions, parts of resolution, conflict with and hereby superseded to the extent of such conflict. Section 4, this resolution shall be enforced and take effect immediately upon its passage and adoption.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Discussion? No, roll call.
In case you need.
Vice Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Commissioner DeVille?
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs?
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed?
Yes.
Okay, next is going to be the sewer enterprise. It's a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, adopting and approving the annual budget for the sewer enterprise fund for the Town of Pembroke Park for fiscal year 2019 and 2020, and appropriating the funds for the operation of the sewer enterprise fund for the Town of Pembroke Park for fiscal year 2019 to 2020, providing for severability, superseding with the resolution to find effective date. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, Section 1 of the budget for the Town of Pembroke Park for the operation of the sewer enterprise fund for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020. And it is officially and finally adopted, a photocopy which is on file with the town clerk, by reference to part hereof, and appropriation set out therein, made for the maintenance and carrying on the sewer enterprise fund for the town of Fair Park for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020. 62, that any clause section or part or application of this resolution shall be in court of competent jurisdiction, be unconstitutional and invalid in part or in its application shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the application of this resolution. Section 3, that all resolutions, parts of resolutions conflict to it being submitted to supersede to the extent such conflict. Section 4, that this resolution shall be enforced and take effect in the classification adoption.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Discussion, no? Roll call.
Vice Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner DeVille.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes. Surface water?
Okay, it's a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Fair Park, Florida, officially adopting and approving the annual budget for the water drainage enterprise fund debt service for the Town of Fair Park for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and appropriating funds for the operation of the surface water drainage enterprise fund debt service for the Town of Fair Park for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, provided for several votes, proceeding from the resolution by an effective date. Now therefore be resolved that the Commission of the Town of Fair Park, Florida, Section 1, that the town at the budget for the town of Pembroke Park for the operation of the surface water drainage enterprise fund debt service for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020. Be and it is officially and finally adopted, a photocopy of which is on file with the town clerk and the representative party hereof, and that the appropriations set out therein are made for the maintenance and carrying out of the surface water drainage enterprise fund debt service for the town of Pembroke Park for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020. Section 2, that if any clause, section, or other part or application of resolution is held by any court competent jurisdiction be unconstitutional or invalid, or in part or an application shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions or applications of this resolution. Section 3, that all resolutions or parts of resolutions conflict with the same as superseded to the extent such conflict. Section 4, this resolution shall be enforced to take effect in the class passage.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Discussion, no? Roll call.
Vice Mayor Clark. Commissioner DeVille.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Okay. Yep, pension. It's a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Fair Park, Florida, adopting and approving the annual budget for the pension trust fund for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, and appropriating funds for the operation of the pension trust fund for the Town of Fair Park for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020, provided for severability, superseding complete resolutions, and provide an effective date. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Fair Park, Florida, Section 1, that the budget for the Town of Fair Park for the operation of the pension trust fund for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, and ending September 30, 2020, be and it is officially and finally adopted for the company which shall file with town clerk and by representative party hereof, and the appropriations set out therein are made for the maintenance and carrying on of the pension fund, pension trust fund for the town of Fair Park for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, and ending September 30, 2020. Section 2, that if any clause, section, or other part or application of this resolution is held by any court, competent jurisdiction to be unconstitutional or invalid, unconstitutional or invalid, in part or an application shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the application of this resolution. Section 3, that all resolutions, parts of resolutions conflict to it, being the same or hereby superseded to the extent such conflict. Section 4, this resolution shall be enforced and take effect upon its passage and adoption.
Motion to adopt.
Discussion, roll call.
Vice Mayor Clark. Commissioner DeVille.
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen.
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs.
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes. Stormwater management?
Okay, resolution of the town, Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, relating to the excuse me. Resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, officially adopting the stormwater management fee for fiscal year 2019 and 2020, superseding the resolution by an effective date. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Commission of the Town of Pembroke Park, Florida, Section 1, that the budget for the Town of Pembroke Park for the operation of stormwater management for the Town of Pembroke Park for the fiscal year 2019 for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, and ending on September 30, be it officially adopted, a photocopy of which being on file with the town clerk and by reference being a part hereof. Section 2, that if any section, clause, or other part or application of this resolution held by any court of competent jurisdiction, being unconstitutional, invalid, and part of an application not shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions or applications of the resolution. Section 3, that all resolutions, parts of resolutions, conflict with being submitted by superseding to the extent of such conflict. Section 4, this resolution shall be enforced and take effect upon its passage.
Second.
Vice Mayor Clark,
Yes.
Commissioner DeVille,
Yes.
Commissioner Cohen,
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Jacobs,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hold on.
All ayes?
Meeting adjourned at 6:55. Sorry.
All ayes. Okay, one down.
6:55.
5-minute break.